Hi, this is a reading for LC, and let me tell you a little bit about what I've done. I've taken 3 decks. The first deck is kind of the dominant energy and what's going on right now, and I chose the Mystical Shaman Oracle, which is all ancient symbols and quite beautiful artwork. I love the art. The imagery is amazing, and this one is going to talk about kind of the dominant energy of what's kind of gripping you at the moment. Then I took, I'm using Wisdom of the Oracle, which is this card, with equally lovely artwork on it. And this one is in regards to what's going on career and prosperity wise, and in particular, material and financial abundance. And then I chose Enchanted Map, which is all about life path, about things of a spiritual nature. So I'm just going to read each of those 3, and then I'll give you kind of a larger picture of what's going on. And I'll probably pull in some cards after that for confirmation, affirmation, perhaps information that you can use to continue progressing and maybe give you a little bit of clarity. So I have asked that only the angels, guides, and spirits of the highest vibration join me in this and help me. I've asked for clarity, grace, compassion, and objectivity, and that you may find some resonance in this reading, and that it'll give you some whatever it is the universe wants you to have. So, that's nice. They'll be distracted by my mess. So we start out with the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I probably should be using my earbuds because I think the sound is better. Let me do that. Let me put those in while I'm describing what's going on here. So the overall message. There, I hope that's better. The overall message and dominant energy, I felt like the Mystical Shaman was an appropriate thing. And interestingly enough, your first card was, oddly enough, the Mystical Shaman card itself. And you got it in reverse. In fact, all 3 of your cards in dominant energy are in reverse. And as you know, that being in reverse doesn't mean a bad thing. Typically, it's an actually good thing because you're going to get some pretty specific advice and encouragement, I like to call it. And so I'm going to give you the essential meanings of the cards, and then the specific encouragement that goes along with it in any interpretations I get. Alexa, cancel. Sorry. It starts out quiet and then all of a sudden it's too loud. Maybe it just seems quiet when I'm not talking. So the mystical shaman were storytellers. And the interesting thing about them was that the stories that they told actually didn't define them. You know, a lot of times when we're talking to people and we're telling them our story, we're talking about what defines us and or what has shaped us and made us who we are. But that's not what happened with the shamans. The mystical shamans observed. They kind of evolved through the stories because they were very often living them. But they perceive it from all sides. They see it from, we know there's more than two sides to every story. There's many perspectives. Yes, 10 people who will witness the same thing, they get 10 different stories. And this was something that the shamans, the mystical shamans, were very good at, is they saw all of those stories and they weaved that truth into their stories. And the message with the essence of this card, is really to be in the world but not of it, and to not get caught up in the things that don't matter, the trivial details, the mired in the day-to-day type issues that we get into. And that's an interesting point because that comes up again actually in another card. So when you get this card in reverse, there's very specific. This deck comes with what they call the essence, which is the general message, or what the general symbolism is about. Then it has an invitation when you get a card in upright position, and then it has what it calls the medicine when it comes in reverse. And the medicine is that very specific encouragement that I was talking about in the beginning. And when this card comes in reverse, you get a very clear message to be very careful about what you pray for. And we know that every thought, every word, every pining that we have really goes out into the universe like a prayer. And it's why we need to be very cognizant about not only what we think and what we speak, but what we project to other people, what we project to ourselves when we look in the mirror. Whether we have love and kindness and compassion in our hearts for others and for ourselves. And that's very important because how we feel about ourselves directly affects everything else, and whether or not we achieve the things that we're trying to achieve or whatever. So one of the things that we are reminded is when we're wishing for things and we're hoping for things and we're trying to manifest things into our lives, one of the things that we really need to be careful about is that have we seriously considered what we're going to be sacrificing in order to achieve that? Because we know that with all steps as we move forward, change is inevitable. And with that change, we tend to move in and out and away and around, which is why it's so important with the shaman that you look at things from all sides and make sure that you are being cognizant and careful and creative in what you're wishing for. Make sure you're looking at it closely. The other thing is you really want to at this point take a step back and look at what it is that you are working toward. And this is about everything in your life, not just financial prosperity or relationship abundance or any kind of abundance. It's really about everything that you are trying to move toward, every aspect of your life. And you need to recognize, and I think this is the crux of this particular card, that it's very possible that you have been working towards something for so long that it has become the pivotal target. But you have changed and you have grown. And it's very possible now that those stories are it's not that they're no longer useful, but it's very possible that they're old stories now, or maybe you've moved past those things already. And having those things as your goals and your targets was pivotal and very important in helping you move forward. But the encouragement here is that you take a look at everything that you are trying to manifest, especially those things that you've been working on for a long time. and make sure that you are still moving toward what is going to bring you edification and fulfillment. Because it's very possible now that it's time to adjust your course just a little bit. And celebrate the fact that you have moved beyond those points. You know, we can change our minds, and just look at it with a keen eye and being honest with yourself, and make sure that, you know, sometimes we'll go ahead and we follow through on something that we promised because we promised, whether we promised ourselves or other people, or whether, you know, sometimes it's like, well, I've been doing this for a long time, I can't quit now, I've already invested, you know, all of this physical, emotional, and spiritual energy to this. Or what will people say? Or what if I'm wrong? You know, we have all of those little bastards sitting on our shoulder pushing those things. And the bottom line is Spirit doesn't care about that, and neither should you. So your next card, which I find amazing because you are in this card with the mystical shaman, being asked to really scrutinize the stories and make sure that you're not being defined by the stories, but you are being objective and seeing them in every way. Your next card was the eagle. And again, the eagle in reverse. What do we know about eagles? The bird's eye view. Eagles can see everything, and they can see it from far and wide. They can see the whole picture. So this ties in so beautifully with the mystical shaman card. And it's this card is asking you to do as the eagle does and look at everything with fine detail. So it's just a confirmation with the first card that you need to be really scrutinizing the path that you're on and where you want to focus your energy. And that's all of your energy, physical, emotional, and spiritual energy, because what we focus on is what we are going to produce. And it's what's going to manifest. It's also how we are going to define ourselves. So you are at a kind of a crossroads because you have moved forward kind of at a lightning pace. And some things we hold on to very steadfastly, and we feel the need to grip tighter when we feel like things are getting a little loosey-goosey, if you will. So the encouragement with this card, obviously, is time for you to see with the eyes of an eagle. And so it's also, this card is about setting your priorities. And the suggestion is, you know, with, especially in combination with, and it being touching the shaman card, is that you make sure you know what your priorities are, and then set your priorities, and don't be fearful of either moving forward or maybe changing your path, altering your course a little bit. Because whatever you do, as long as you're doing it with very clear objectives and looking at all sides, you really can't go wrong. There's a huge suggestion here, though, that you have moved beyond some of your goals, and maybe, you know, working. You know, I'll just remind you of something that I say quite often about how it's really not about the destination; it's the journey and the adventures that we have along the way, the lessons that we learn, the people that we meet, the situations we navigate ourselves through. This card also asks questions, and it's like, what did you come to do in this life? What was part of your life purpose? And you know, whatever it is you came to do, whether it was to climb the ladder of success or to achieve a certain spiritual awareness, or I mean, whatever it is you came to do, whatever your divine purpose is, it's asking you to really ask yourself those hard questions. It's suggesting that if it's time for you to change your purpose and to move things around and shift your priorities a little bit, then now is the time. Once you've broadened your purview and looked at things. So that's kind of an important point here, that now is the time to shift if a shift is necessary. But only you will know if it's time for that, and you're asked to, through the power of telling your own story and seeing it from all sides and using an eagle's eye view, to make sure you do that in a way that's edifying to you. And then your third card, isn't that just a lovely card? I just love it. It's corn obviously is yellow, so it's not unusual that the card would be very yellow. But the card itself is very bright, and it's got all these soothing blues and greens in it. I just love this card, and this card actually represents tangible abundance. So we're talking about, with these two cards, about looking at your path, what's your story, what's your divine purpose, looking at all sides of it, adjusting as necessary. And then you get a card that's specifically about tangible abundance. And the suggestion is that right now, the thing that your dominant energy is really centering around prosperity and what it is you're going to do, what you're spending your most time and expending the most energy on. And because this is about material prosperity, the message is fairly clear that there's plenty. So whatever you choose to do, whatever you choose to focus on, is you're going to be successful. Now, it does come with medicine. And the suggestion is that the encouragement here is that you avoid shortcuts. And because, the suggestion is that you've been working towards for a long time, and you're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, and you're starting to see progress, and the fruits of your labors are starting to be sown. They're all coming to fruition, and you might be getting just a little impatient to move things forward, and this is a huge caution for you not to do that. It's not the time for you to rush in. And of course, again, you're not going to rush in if you're looking at things from a bird's eye view, and like with eagle eye precision. And if you're looking at all sides of the story, as suggests the mystical shaman. So you still need to be working towards your goals. You still need to be planting seeds. Living gratefully, respectfully, all of those things. You're also asked to release any thoughts of insecurity or doubt that your instincts are on point when you have all the information. There is a little bit of a warning here that if you've taken some missteps that you feel like may have altered your plan or slowed your plan down or something like that, that nothing like that is permanent, and you are going to continue to move forward, and then it's going to be in a very positive way. So your dominant energy is all about assessment and reassessment and moving forward and altering your course as is necessary. The big thing with this, though, is to recognize that you may, it may be time for you to adjust your path just a little bit, because you've progressed in yourself, in your physical, emotional, spiritual balance, a little bit quicker than the goals that you've been working toward. That doesn't mean that your goals are wrong or that you're on the wrong track. but it does signal a little bit of warning that it's time for you to really sit back and honestly assess and look at things with clarity. You need to ask for objectivity, ask for clarity. So on that note, because that's one, let's talk about your prosperity message next, which was from Wisdom of the Oracle. And the first card that you got was mending, and mending is it's the first step pretty much to everything. And mending is very specifically about reparations and fixing things. Stepped on toes, offenses, relationships that maybe aren't where they should be, where they could be. But bigger than that, it's really about forgiveness and letting things go that no longer matter. And again, this speaks very closely to that the mystical shaman, because remember, the mystical shaman, when he tells stories, is not defined by those stories. The mystical shaman moves through the stories, sees them very objectively. He evolves and moves through them and tells the story with all the different perspectives. But they don't make the mystical shaman who the mystical shaman is. And that's what this message is to, for you to let go of things. The big messages in this is that you forgive yourself. And maybe for missteps, maybe for trusting people that you shouldn't have trusted. Perhaps for not trusting as much, for not taking certain risks, But in general, all of those things that you look back on where you think, I could have done this better, I should have done that more, I should have done less of this, let it all go. It doesn't matter. Forgive yourself for being the best you could be in the moment and doing the best you could do at the moment. Your best now has changed, and everything you do from henceforth is going to be better for you. So that's really a beautiful card, but the big message there is forgive. And in this particular instance, it's forgive yourself. And also, I feel like if you find yourself in a situation where you need to kind of shift a little bit and maybe change your focus a little bit, that there's going to be some questions there about whether you wasted a lot of time. You didn't waste your time. Everything you've done is prepared you for where you are now and for where you're going. So don't regret any of that, and recognize the importance, really, of how you have grown from all of that, and not how it's held you back or moved you in the wrong direction, but better and more realistically, how it's benefited you and helped you get to this point. Because all of the things and everything we've experienced, and all the people that have come into your life, and all of the situations that you found yourself in, whether they were challenging or beneficial in an easy way, were part of the grand scheme of things to move you into the place where you are now. And it's going to open lots of doors when you can kind of let that go, let that water go under the bridge. Now, your next card, and again, this is in your prosperity message, is by the book, but you got it in reverse. And the message with by the book, this card in general, is about conformity, following the rules, cultural and family customs, universal laws, blah, blah, blah. So it's all about getting along. However, you got this card in reverse, and I love it when this card comes in reverse, because it tells you that now is the time to be a rebel. And it's not the time to be a quiet little passive-aggressive rebel. Now's the time to take a firm stand and tell all the naysayers and all the people in your life that don't support you, that don't edify you, whether they are friends or family or coworkers or the world at large, that are telling you that you can't or that you shouldn't or that you won't or that it's not good for them or that they don't like it or whatever, that you can tell them all to go to hell. Because they don't have your best interest at heart. This card is all about you standing up and taking a stand, and taking a very loud stand. So what this suggests is, once you have gone through and assessed where you are and where you're going, both in all three aspects, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, once you've decided on that and you looked at it from the eagle's eye point of view, and you have evolved through it and all of those things, just like the mystical shaman does, once you've done that, anyone that has anything to say other than, "Atta girl, what can I do to help you?" don't belong. And that is such a freeing and powerful and liberating experience, to be able to look at people with confidence, say, "I love you and I appreciate that. Thank you." and then walk away and do what you got to do, because they don't know and they don't understand. And so it's, now's the time for a real change in consciousness as you are incited to revolt, is exactly what it says in the book. So it's really time for you to start saying no when you want to say no, and putting yourself first. And, along with that other card that was talking about forgiving yourself, the mending card. And it's, a lot of times we need to forgive ourselves because we didn't keep our own best interests and we weren't involved in self-care at the time. And I say a million times, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, 1,000 times, that self-care is never selfish. You must take care of yourself first, because when you are at your best and you have achieved a certain level of balance in your physical, emotional, and spiritual state, you are a huge blessing to yourself and to those around you. And until you are that, you're not as much of a blessing. And it's a very powerful thing for us to live authentically. And that's very much the message. And so I've gotten to 5 cards so far, and they're all really about being authentic and being very honest with yourself and being willing to take a stand and do what you need to do in order to become who you're supposed to be. And it's a very, I have this very powerful and strong and confident, on almost a sigh of relief kind of feeling that, because when